I once again welcome back the participants to the penultimate or maybe the last lecture in the larger stream of international relations, and that too, as we have titled, as I have titled the course as International Relations in the Post-Truth Age. Now when we talk about, today we are going to talk about or delve inside with some minor detail on the theme of public opinion in the international relations, or public opinion in the larger global geopolity and geoeconomy and geostrategy. When we talk about the idea of public opinion, then immediately the work of Gadi Walsfeld, one of the pioneers in media studies, who was a Jew and he was stationed and worked and taught in United States of America, that comes to our mind. He talks about something which has been umpteen of times narrated by me to various audiences in Jawaharlal Nehru University and in Delhi University and the NLU Gandhinagar where I come from. There we would say that political contest model is the primary directive, is the primary light or the beacon through which the idea of public opinion can be understood. Now, Gadi Walsfeld takes up very simplistically and very clearly and lucidly two segments. The first segment being the state and the second segment being the non-state actor. When we talk about the state actor, then we are actually looking into the idea of the government of the day, the idea of the regime of the day, or the capital, as Susan Collins terms the state in her novel The Mockingbird, How to Flay a Mockingbird. So it is the state which is very much powerful, has a great deal of influence upon the domestic and the global happenings and the happenings in the neighborhood world, because of one singular fact, that state has the access to resources, state has the money power, the mullah power, and the state has the military power, because of which it will always be winsome. It normally ends up with a victory against the recalcitrant non-state actors. When we talk about the non-state actors, then we can once again hark back to Susan Collins' novella, which has become a cult classic as far as public opinion studies and media studies in the realm of international relations are concerned. There we have, what do we mean by Susan Collins construct? It is the non-state actor. It is the non-state actor which is normally looking at some kind of a spectacle, some kind of a spectacular sport, in order to attract the attention and the giveaways of the larger world, the international institutions and the powerful nation states in the larger global polity. So what Gadi Walsfeld is trying to convey to us is that there is a battle going on every time. There is a tug of war, a kind of a confrontation which is going on between the state actor, which is the government or the regime of the day, and the non-state actor, which normally are terrorists, which normally are terror mongers, which normally are the rebels with or without a cause, but mostly seen without a cause, and they take recourse to certain activities such as a bomb blast in a temple, or a bomb blast or a Stinger missile attack before the green occupatory zone by the Americans in Iraq, so that the attention of the entire global media, the attention of the entire world can be won over by these insurgents, Naxalites, Maoists and all other anti-national forces, which normally lose out in the end, once again because of the similar reason, but in the opposite sense, that these anti-national forces, these Maoist and Naxalite and left forces, they do not have access to natural resources. They do not have access to the resources of the country, and they have to rely upon clandestine transactions of capital and clandestine transfer of armaments and human capital in a secret, clandestine and a surreptitious manner. So when we talk about the public opinion, we concentrate upon the twilight zone of the state actor and the non-state actor, where we can talk about the invulnerability, we can talk about the invincibility of the state actor or the government of the day. Now when we talk about the public opinion, then all the wars, the battles, the diplomacy nowadays has a great deal of immediate nature attached to it. Something which Ernest Jellner, a theoretician in media studies, has talked about as the immediacy of foreign policy, the immediate element in national interest, and the immediacy in diplomacy. So when we talk about this immediacy, we can talk about the audience model of the media studies amongst the nations. We are not singularly talking about media studies or public opinion, but we are making an attempt to develop a linkage between public opinion and the international relations and international exchanges. So when we talk about the audience model, this is what we were talking about, and somehow our latch up once again to the audience model. Now, as we have in the academia these days, the client and the consumer are supreme. That is the audience, the citizens, the couch potatoes in our drawing rooms, that is ourselves and our kids and our consorts. They are the ones who are going to listen to what the media presents on the platter to the drawing room of an evening at the peak time hour, the peak hours of 7 to 8 news in the evening. So whatever the audience wants, whatever the audience finds palatable, is something which has to be created by the media. It is a demand to the political leaders also. Now when the country in India, in the sense of, in the context of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his regime in India, when people wanted action after Pulwama, they got all the kind of action and all the kind of noise, but with meaningful results, but with trenchant consequences for the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. They got it what they wanted. That is, the people wanted a limited strike, and Prime Minister Modi played to the people. I should correct myself here. I should emphasize. He did not play to the galleries. He did not do it because of a media blitzkrieg on bilateral relations between India and Pakistan. But he did it because it was in the national interest of Bharat, in the national interest of a rising Vishwa Guru, wherein all the countries, including President Trump, have been harping upon the back of Prime Minister Narendra Modi that India should come out of its cocoon and really be the public opinion leader, at least for the larger international system. So this is public opinion, the audience model, where the government of the day or the regime of the day has to take a foreign policy decision which is acceptable to the people, which is liked by the people, which nonchalantly, unknowingly and unfortunately for the left turns into a kind of a electoral boon for Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his political denomination in New Delhi. So the audience model is there, and we also have a hypodermic needle model. What do we mean by this hypodermic needle model? It is a kind of injection. It is a kind of an injection of the sound bites and the video bites at the face of the people, in the face of the people and in the face of the decision makers in the larger global order, so that whatever steps are being taken in the realm of foreign policy by the various governments or by India, they become part and parcel of the larger narrative, of the larger discourse of the entire world. And who else can better do it than President Donald Trump, the presumptive candidate now for 2020 elections, and President and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is fighting single-handedly with the decapitated health system of the country against the Chinese virus, the Wuhan virus, and the corona threat which the entire nation and the entire world faces at this particular moment. Now when we talk about public opinion, we are also talking about soft power. Now this concept of soft power has been propounded by a very well-known and popularly read American IR theorist, who is Joseph Nye Jr. He has talked about soft power. Now, if you want to understand the notion of the soft power, which would be detailed much later on in the entire modules, once I begin interacting with you, once I begin to confabulate with you. But before all this, what do we mean by soft power? It was during the Cold War that United States of America started making a certain set of Hollywood movies. It started making certain set of superhero characters and turned the American Cold War discourse into the larger popular narrative over all across the world cinema, whether it be China, whether it be a cineplex in Delhi or Mumbai, or whether it be Hong Kong or Singapore, and the entire world sways to it. The example is this. I will cite an example. It is Captain America. Captain America happens to be a weak and a frail soldier. This is the characterization which is there in the DC Comics movie, in the Marvel Comics movie. I don't know which one is true, whether it is DC Comics or Marvel Comics, but Captain America is an excellent example of the soft power potential and the soft power propagation by the Cold War and even the current, even the present soft power efforts in public diplomacy by United States of America. Captain America finally wakes up in 2020 after he gets closeted in an island in the aftermath of World War II as his plane crashes. When his plane is about to crash, he has a last exchange with his wife. His wife is also an American Secret Service agent and also later on turns into a full-fledged soldier. He tells his wife, Captain America, that I think this is the last battle for me, but we shall meet sometime, because over and out. And then he goes on to say, over and out, Michelle. I still remember in the last dying moments about the kind of first date we had in an Italian restaurant, and I am still dreaming of myself having coffee and munitions with you. And then before he can say over and out, his plane, which has been hit by a German Nazi Stuka, capsizes, but Captain America does not perish. Captain America does not die. And that longevity, that perennial nature of the American power, American influence and American pelf happened to be the Cold War message of the United States public opinion exercise or the soft power. India too is doing great as far as cultural diplomacy and public opinion and making positive public opinion in the international milieu is concerned. But I would like to add with a sheepish rider, that India is relooking into its nuclear doctrine. We are talking about, New Delhi is talking about a no first use idea. That is, India wants to get away or negate its older promise of not using a nuke or a nuclear missile at the enemies at the first go. India now is thinking in terms of a preemptive war or preventive detention of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan or the People's Republic of China. India wants that we can become a first attacker of nukes, a first user, a first utilizer of nukes if we foresee or smell a rat in Pakistan or on the ever burning and ever heated border skirmishes, in the context of the border skirmishes with the People's Republic of China. So, Narendra Modi and people like Donald Trump are excellent soundbite leaders. That other way also, they are very good leaders who can communicate well and who can create the kosher soundbite and the video bite as far as the foreign policy and the leadership of the different nations are concerned. Now, when we talk about soft power, who can but forget the character of Maverick as played by Tom Cruise in the flick Top Gun. When we look into the discussion or the deliberations on Top Gun, the question that I would breathily ask you is that why cinema is not included in a course syllabi as far as teaching and as far as instruction or training in Indian academic and training institutions is concerned. It is no laughing game. It is no child's play. That when Tom Cruise embarks upon his F-16 and engages vehemently like a mad dog with the Russian MiGs, and it succeeds in blasting 4 of them in his first foray beyond the aircraft carrier in Asia Pacific, that becomes an imagery to latch on to. That becomes a picture with which the larger youth in the entire world, including India, latches on to that. And who can forget the best public opinion exercise where realism and media portrayal come together, they coalesce together. I am talking about Abhinandan, the Indian war hero, whose plane, his MiG-27 was shot down somewhere in Kashmir, and he was taken as a prisoner of war by the Pakistani army for 2 days. But I should give oodles of congratulations to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's regime that they were able to get back Abhinandan for us, who is the Indian Tom Cruise, with the moustaches being the only palpable difference. I don't know that whether squadron leader Abhinandan really had a friendship with his senior trainer, but that is how the narrative is if one looks into the original American venture of Top Gun. So what we are talking about is a messaging, is a kind of a communication, a kind of a brandishing of a sword, a kind of a showing of teeth to the enemy, so that the enemy does not move to physical force after an eyeball to eyeball confrontation. And as we know, Shanto Iyengar has gone on to say that medium is the message, and Marshall McLuhan, one of the primary sources for both academics and practitioners of media studies, goes on to contend very nicely that now the human body has its extensions. The telephone or the cell phone is the extension of the ear and mouth. The legs have an extension in the form of a bike or a car. The ears are there, and an extension of the ears we have the presence of earphones and cell phones. So technology, capital, media, and how does the government utilize the media as far as its foreign policy ministrations are concerned, they happen to be one of the key ingredients of public opinion. Now we are talking about the rally behind the flag phenomena, which emanated in America and which emanated beautifully and graphically during the Pulwama and the Balakot and the Pangong and Laptal times also in the context of India. How do we talk about this rally around the flag phenomena? Now, whenever a nation goes to war, media organizations such as the Media Research Council and the Pew Research Poll Center, premised in United States of America, they have always communicated this particular factoid, that whenever a war is occurring, whenever the American president goes for a war, or whenever Prime Minister Narendra Modi orders a strike, a surgical and highly lethal strike on the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, then at that point of time it has been recorded in United States of America that 70% of the public, 70% of the people, both during the 2 Iraq wars and also during the Vietnam War, which is called as the Dirty Long War, even during the Vietnam War, people completely supported at an initial level when victory was foreseen, that they supported the American war effort, they supported the American machinery, they supported what the American president was conveying to them. But a backstepping has been done this time around. A backstepping has been done this time around by President Donald Trump, who after getting rid of General Soleimani went ahead, and General Soleimani did something which the Americans did not like, so they removed him. So they removed him from the larger context of the Iranian military scene. But when Tehran attacked the American post in Iraq with certain bombs and missiles, then President Trump, instead of going for a catastrophic war against Iran, just said very cunningly, cannily and sweetly that our work had been done, and we have succeeded, and Americans, as Americans, we have succeeded in giving a communication, a stealthy message to Tehran that if American tranquility and American bases are meddled with, then there is not going to be any respite. But it is here that the public opinion bite for President Donald Trump failed, where President Trump did not engage the Iranians completely militarily. I am no warmonger, we know, but when things come to a pass, when the relationship enters into a nosedive, then military confrontations do occur, though they are very costly and they are very troublesome. This is one part of it. And when we are talking about, because we have initially talked about the post-truth age of international relations, what do we understand by post-truth? Post-truth happens to be the general idea that facts, realities and what goes on at the ground level are normally not quoted, are normally not utilized, and instead of that, a facade, a public opinion sphere, a crystal ball media functioning takes its place. And this is where the international relations scholars have to put their feet down, and they need to convey to their people, the leaders need to convey to their hoi polloi, the leaders need to convey to the larger idiom, of the international community that yes, enough is enough and reality should be followed, and a country needs to be strong about its national interest, and it should have well defined, clearly delineable foreign policy assets and foreign policy objectives. So, public opinion, the exercise of getting the entire nation together for a foreign policy decision, or for a surgical strike, or for a full-fledged intervention by a nation in a larger international conflict, that also happens to be a kind of an icing on the cake. This icing on the cake is required if the government needs to fight the propaganda war. If the government wants to get rid of the Naxal propaganda, of the left propaganda, of the Maoist propaganda and our neighborhood propaganda, then media outlets need to be manipulated, and they have been manipulated as every government, whether it be in New Delhi or Washington, does. Thanks a lot, participants, for your patient hearing. And here we come to an end to our international relations lectures, and our reading material galore is there to be there with you both in the soft and in the hard copies. Thanks once again.